Hello, Radioland and everybody out in Detroit. You're tuned into 96.7 WNUC. You're here for the Magnet Radio Hour. I'm Brian Dolliner here from the Urbana-Champaign Independent Media Center, and I'm with Magnet, the Media Action Grassroots Network. And today we have in the house Generation Justice here all the way from New Mexico. Thanks for coming out to Detroit, Generation Justice. How you doing, Christina?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having us.
Great. Christina Rodriguez on the mic. And would everybody else like to introduce themselves, please? Coetz?
My name is Quetzalbalin Mashika, and I've been with Generation Justice for about 1 year, and I'm a junior in high school.
Great. And you, Kenya, please.
Hi, I'm Kenya Alonzo. I'm 15, and I've been with Generation Justice for a year. I'm about to be a junior in high school, too.
Great. And you all came here all the way from New Mexico. You've been to Detroit before, or the Allied Media Conference?
No, this is our first time.
And you're having a good time?
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Great. What's been the best thing you've seen so far at the Allied Media Conference?
All the panels are really amazing. Like, you can tell all the speakers really care about what they're talking about, and it's really nice to just see, like, this community come together, like, with one major, like, theme.
Kenya, how about you?
Honestly, I love the panels, and I've met so many nice people, but honestly, like, my favorite part is everybody so themselves and positive and happy to be here.
Great, great.
I think working out in New Mexico, it's easy to feel isolated, and also as young people, it's cool to see so many other young people from all across the country that are doing similar work, and also that everyone's so themselves, and it's really cool to be in an environment, like a safe space like that.
Right. And Allied Media has been going on every year about this time of the summer in June here in Detroit. I think it's the 10th year it's been in Detroit here. So it's got a long track record, and it's really a unique conference for people across the country and throughout the Midwest regionally to come together and see what other people are doing, and it looks a lot like what we're doing, and it's really inspiring to be here. So thank you all for making the trip. I wondered if you could talk a little bit about your work at Generation Justice, and I think the great work that you all do is really based in youth media organizing, and not just talking about the youth, but involving the youth in the production of media and running campaigns. So I wonder if you could talk about some of the recent work you've been doing.
As a fellow at Generation Justice for the past 2 years, it's been really amazing to be part of a media project and a media movement that puts youth at the forefront and behind the mic, in front of the mic, and really utilizing that youth are part of the community just like everybody else. That's news and media typically puts youth as some type of other, especially youth of color, and therefore as a journalist, being a part of that, working with youth is just really important for our communities to reframe the narrative around young people and the issues that we care about.
So as a high school student, I've seen that portrayed in the media, youth are very, it's portrayed very negatively. They're very stereotypical, and I feel like Generation Justice gives us an opportunity to, be something else, to be smart and strong and be able to have a voice, and that's really important.
And Kenya, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with Quetz. It's letting me fight against that stereotype that youth don't want to get involved in the community, they don't want to help. And so that's what I'm really glad that Generation Justice is doing. They're giving, like Christina said, they're giving youth the voice.
Y'all have been on the radio before. How you like radio as a medium?
I really enjoy radio. I feel like a lot of people don't see radio as still a thing that's still going strong, but I know a lot of people, especially in New Mexico, that listen to our show and that it really it hits them and it speaks to them and they want to get involved.
And so you all run a radio hour that's weekly. Tell me more about your radio show.
So it broadcasts on Sundays. And the youth are involved in every process of the radio show. So youth will do engineering, will be on the radio, will be hosting, will be writing script. So we're connected in the entirety of the show.
Tell me about your favorite show that you've been involved with.
My favorite show that I've been involved with really deals with New Mexico's community and laws that deals with behavioral health. And so what we did is we really got involved along with the campaign to help New Mexico's behavioral health problem out. And I remember helping write or helping produce the show and being able to talk about it on the radio.
Super.
One of the shows that I worked on last was about the DOJ report that was done at the University of New Mexico surrounding sexual assault and safety on campus, which was really important and even got the attention of our local congresswoman and President Frank, just about the issues that students aren't apathetic about, things like that, and to also actually capture the voices and reactions of people besides policymakers and kind of the heads of other organizations or the police. It was kind of a rare space that I think radio allows for us to actually dive deep into the story and talk to, people that are actually on campus and capture that realistic experience that we all are taking from the media and news.
Right, and I think this is the important work that Magnet does, is we hear about these big national stories and we see it in the news, but what's unique, I think, about many of the members of Magnet and the wide coalition we have across the country is we just don't take the news, right? We make the news, and so we are responding, we are creating these stories, we're ourselves feeding into the narrative and the way it gets built and framed and the way we help to reframe it, adding other voices, youth, people of color, in trying to really complicate the stories that we hear come and go day in and day out. So tell me a little bit more about what you all have been doing in the last year.
In the past year, we've been really busy with our NM Speaks Crisis campaign, which was all around behavioral health in New Mexico after 3 out of 5 Arizona providers had left our state, as well as 13 out of 15 providers were shut down. So really covering the lack of resources for that locally.
Why are those getting shut down?
They were 13 out of the 15 providers, all 15 were accused of fraud by by a third-party auditing group out of Boston. And looking into it, all of those organizations weren't given the audit itself. It was held secretly. The Attorney General had to sue for it, and over the course of 2 years, in the process of getting those audits, the Medicaid money was frozen since day one of that audit being released, and therefore many of them had to shut down, even though they had been open locally for over 40 years. And that had huge effects from disconnections to services, wait list. Once you actually get services, you're not getting adequate services that you need. And this was impacting young people. This was impacting everyone in our community. And so we did over 60 interviews with policymakers, providers, consumers, advocates, and shared over, I think, 100 videos via social media. We got a campaign and a petition started. We went up to the Roundhouse, and it was really cool to be part of a campaign where we actually felt like the policymakers felt the heat, and they knew that we were out there watching them, especially as young people, and that this was something that we understood and that we weren't going to let continue.
Super. And so what role were youth playing, in particular Kenya and Kowetz both? Tell us how youth played a role in recording these interviews, conducting the interviews, recruiting other people maybe for interviews.
One role that I played was when we went to the capital of New Mexico in Santa Fe, and we interviewed our state senators, and we were talking to them because they would actually be voting about behavioral health and about giving more to behavioral health, about recognizing the issue that we're having in our state. So that's one role that I played, but I saw a lot of other youth in Generation Justice who were speaking out against how that affected them personally, how their care providers were taken from them, and how that really destroyed a part of their lives.
Great. And so you actually talked to a state senator, several state senators?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. And Kenya?
Yeah, I also went to the Roundhouse in Santa Fe along with them. We would go around and meet senators and explain to them and hopefully get their attention. And it was really important that we did that because that was the day where we all needed to get everything done and make them understand why we needed this to happen. I also helped in the production of shows and helping write them. And
Great. And again, this is really the unique kind of work that Magnet is doing, really from the street corner of the State House, taking stories, everyday stories, and taking those and putting them in front of policymakers. And I find in doing this work, policy and theorizing and statistics and numbers, that's one thing. But really getting at the hearts of these policy makers, these people who make decisions about our lives, really getting to their hearts really makes all the difference in running these campaigns. So we want to thank you all for being here today. I think we've got a whole host, a whole lineup of Magnet folks rolling through. So we're going to change out the seats here and change our hats. But Generation Justice, thank you all for being here and coming in the studio today.
Thank you for having us.
For folks out there in Radio Land who want to keep up with what Generation Justice is doing, where can they find out about your stuff?
They can check us out on generationjustice.org. Also search us on Facebook under Generation Justice. We're also on Twitter and Instagram and locally in New Mexico. And again, I just want to thank y'all from Magnet for having us on the show and having us at your membership assembly. I think Magnet does so much for all of our country and for organizers here, and especially coming from New Mexico and as a young person, it's really cool to be full of a room of people that care about us and the same issues. As a woman of color, it's really important that we have representation, that we have access, that we have an open internet for us to express ourselves and to grow in our identities, and I think it's really special, all the work that you do.
Thanks y'all for making the trip. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you.